G'day guys, you are watching the Space Slugs. We're coming to you live with the first round of the third episode of the current TTS League. So this is a league that the Space Slugs, aka myself and Cam, have volunteered to take over. So yeah, we're basically running it now, just to see how we go. And yeah, this match is of course from the Oceanic bracket. This is two fantastic players between DesertSpiral and of course Starstone. Hi Duralvar, thank you very much for joining in. I hope you enjoy the stream. It's going to be a banger, I'm sure. So just a bit of housekeeping. We did have the priority role here won by Starstone on the right. Sorry, that's DesertSpiral. I'll just quickly flip the names. But yeah, let's just go over their strike teams. So this is something that I am very happy to see. We've got some new stuff. So we've got, of course, on one hand, Jedi Knight Luke Skywalker, accompanied by Obi-Wan Kenobi out of hiding and Lando and R2-D2 inside job. So yeah, incredibly fast. We've got a lot of sort of inactivation movement from Jedi Luke, from Obi-Wan, of course, with his run ability, and from Lando and R2-D2 using Mingle. So there's some really interesting Shatterpoint interactions there with Mingle and Lando and R2-D2, and of course their clever disguise. If they get activated with the Shatterpoint, they won't really be able to get targeted by ranged attacks while their order card is still in the order deck or in reserve. So yep, really good use of abilities there, and I'm sure that that's probably something that Starstone is indeed gearing up to do. Then we of course have the classics. So we've got Lord Maul, we've got Jango Fett, and we have Mandalorian Super Commandos. So, yep, I mean, tried and true displacement on Maul, displacement on Jango, and some really hard-hitting units in the Mandalorian Super Commandos that are also reasonably durable. So, yeah, a real sort of mixed bag here. I think Luke is a frontline brawler. Got Obi-Wan Kenobi, frontline brawler. Lando and R2-D2 sort of like mid to back. Maul wants to be up in your face. I mean, yeah, it's a very in-your-face team, so this is going to be really, really interesting. Okay. And then over here, hey, Lord Tirith, thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoy the stream. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we've got a very, very reactive team here for DesertSpiral. So on Longshanks, I think going off the primary pairings here, Ahsoka and Count Dooku have something like a 64% win rate. So this is going to be really interesting. So we've got Ahsoka Tano, Jedi No More, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Jango Fett as well. So the secondaries are shared. And then we have the Clan Kryze Mandalorians under Ahsoka, and the Magna Guard, which are really, really good under Count Dooku. So very active team here. Of course, when anything gets wounded, Ahsoka is going to be able to move, and then of course, if a secondary or a primary character gets wounded, then Count Dooku will be able to order the Magna Guard to move and do some attacking as well. So, yep. Yeah, this is going to be really cool. We've got a very aggressive team up against a very reactive control style team. So very interesting. Let us know what you guys think in the chat as to who is going to win, who's going to take it out. Let me just position the camera and I will get these names sorted out very quickly for us all. Just bear with me. So the left player name is of course going to be Starstone. And the right player name is, of course, going to be DesertSpiral. So one last time, guys, just a little bit of housekeeping because I've had to update, of course, the overlay here. We did see DesertSpiral on the right-hand side here win the priority. And we've chosen the mission pack, which is going to be Shifting Priorities. So not the Sabotage Showdown. So I think these guys are quite good on shifting priorities. In fact, both teams are probably going to be relatively good on shifting. I think Luke Skywalker really enjoys the middle flanks, middle type layout of shifting priorities. But yeah, I mean, both teams are going to be very fast and able to maneuver around here. And we've got a new map that we haven't seen on stream before. So this is also very cool. So first placement went to DesertSpiral. We whacked down Ahsoka Tano, Obi-Wan and the Mandalorians. That was met by Jedi Knight Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan of his own, and then R2-D2 and Lando. So very, very cool. Then, of course, we're going to have Maul matched up against Count Dooku. So let me know, guys, what you think of that pairing and who you think is going to come off sort of on top of that. And Duravar's just said in the chat, Olek. interesting match for sure. Two pretty defensive teams, yeah. So, I mean, Luke can be quite defensive, and of course, Lando and R2-D2 and Obi-Wan lend themselves to being very defensive. Of course, with Mind Trick is fantastic, and Lando and R2-D2, of course, is very order deck dependent in terms of whether or not they're defensive or not. I would say that Lord Maul, Jango, and the Mandalorian Super Commandos, however, are very aggressive, and Luke's ability to double tap is also a very aggressive style control ability. So we've got, of course, you can either profit by this or be destroyed, something that I love. I'm really excited for Luke Skywalker to make his way into the game. And yeah, I've got the model sitting on my shelf behind me and slowly being painted up for an event that I'm going to on the 25th of Feb. Yeah, so basically what he's going to be doing is choosing active objectives within 2 of Luke. Each enemy character contesting that objective can dash, then Luke can dash toward the objective and make a 5-dice attack. And so he's got some fantastic expertise, probably going to be using that ability not on the Gem So side, but indeed on the Sorasu side. And we'll have a look at that, of course, when Starstone does flip it over. But that's going to be a really good ability because he's got some fantastic expertise and some really early pushes and heals on Luke. So he's going to be able to keep his team alive, he's going to be able to keep himself alive, and keep other characters either off points or, of course, just one-shotting them, as we love to do in the old Shatterpoint. So, of course, over here we've got Count Dooku with the Magna Guard and with Bounty Hunter Jango Fett up against Lord Maul, a Jango Fett of Starstones, and the Mandalorian Super Commandos. So, yeah, let me know, guys, in the chat who you think is getting the better half of these pairings. I feel like, you probably want to avoid Dooku with Jedi Knight Luke Skywalker just because Luke really wants to be doing expertise crits, and of course we'll see Force Mastery, or not Force Mastery, it'll be Makashi blocking a lot of those crits. So we've got Lord Tirith in the chat saying he feels Spiral might get more value from Obi-2 because of Dooku, but Oleg has more displacement shenanigans. I feel positioning of Obi-2 on both sides will be a decisive factor. So yeah, thanks for that. That's going to be really cool to see, and I do agree. So let's have a look at the mission that we've got. It is locate the asset. So facing, of course, DesertSpiral here, who won the first priority, or the first player. This is the layout. So yeah, let's see who we get first. I'm going to try and position the card so we can see. We've got Ahsoka. It's probably not a bad draw first up. I mean, she wants to get into position so she can start running around and causing a muck. So she can just get up there with force speed, take a hunker or something similar, and just be really hard to displace. So she probably wants to flit around on not her Jarkai side. She probably wants to flip over to reverse grip, and she'll get some really good jumps and some slightly better defense on that expertise, and a few more defense dice against ranged, which won't help, of course, a heap against Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan, and Lando, because Lando and R2-D2 predominantly want to be in combat, but you never know. And this is a really interesting map, so let's dive in to see what we've got here. I don't want to move the camera too much, guys, just because I don't want to make anyone dizzy. But this is essentially what we're going for. And yeah, we will be able to get the bottom here on the ingress, and DesertSpiral has, of course, just placed them at the top of the ladder there. So we will be able to take that, and I'll be interested to see if Tobias does, of course, flip over into reverse grip with Ahsoka after this activation. I do think it would be best, and there's, of course, the force spend for the force speed that was just used. And they are using a chess clock, so let me just use my timer, and you guys can sort of follow along with with the time, I guess. So that'll boot up in a second, and we've got, so 2 points being sort of claimed for DesertSpiral, of course, and 1 point being claimed for Starstone. And yeah, I think that's a respectable play, and we have flipped over into Form 5 Xian reverse grip, and you can see that we get a jump on 2 expertise now instead of on 3 expertise. So that's going to make Ahsoka really difficult to displace off of that objective from basically anything, unless you can get a cheeky expose in there. But we can see that the only natural form of expose is going to, of course, be Lord Maul on Starstone's team. So we've pulled our really fast kind of characters here. So Starstone has, of course, pulled Obi-Wan Kenobi out of hiding. Let me just sort of dive in a little bit closer to see if there's any ingress points over here. It doesn't appear so. So we can use a run basically to sort of come up to the edge here, and then we will, of course, just climb and then probably take cover and be exactly where we need to be. So that is exactly what's happening now. There's just a few collision issues on the map. Excuse me, I just had a quick sneeze. I'm allergic to OB2. That's a joke. He's amazing. Okay, so yeah, we're just resolving that run ability, and then of course a climb, and then probably a take cover. Here, there's the climb. He is of course out of the view of the camera thanks to the big quad jumper and the landing pad here, but it's a very beautiful map, so props to whoever made this one. It's yeah, it's really cool. If only I could see the cheeky struggle tracker, but it's not going to matter. I'm going to be able to keep you guys up to date. So Starstone does have to be careful here. I do respect engaging Ahsoka. That is a very important play, and I'll show you guys why. So we've got Fierce Protector. When an enemy character wounds another allied unit, after the effect is resolved, one character in this unit may advance. So that's, of course, the key word there. It is an advance. So if Starstone is able to engage Ahsoka, that, of course, changes the advance to a dash, and that's clutch. So Starstone has to be careful, though. The reason I say this is just not to get tempted and red-eyed and go for the attack, because we are very likely to, of course, get a jump on Ahsoka's tree. But we just went for the hunker, which is nice, and we're not engaged, unfortunately, with Ahsoka, so no limiting factor there, but we do score 2 points. And let's see who we draw next for Desert Spiral. What do we guys think of that play? I think taking the center with OB2 is really good. And anyone watching, you know, in retro, of course, we colloquially refer to OB2 or Obi-Wan Jedi Out of Hiding as OB2 because he's the second released Obi. So let me know what you think. And we have, of course, pulled Obi-Wan Jedi Out of Hiding for Desert Spiral. So yeah, really off the cuff, just getting our super fast characters off the rip here. So this is going to be really interesting. So here's the run trigger. We can, of course, choose an allied engaged character anywhere on the battlefield, but no one is, of course, engaged. So we're triggering the run. OB2 will be out of sight. And it looks like we might try and, jump up onto that ingress point that's at the back of the quad jumper there and take the point. So that's a great start for Desert Spiral. A really good start for Desert Spiral there. Lord Tirith, yes, excellent start from Oleg with that early draw of OB2. I do agree. And yeah, so Starstone really on the back foot here. We've only got 1 point capped for him. So yeah, probably Starstone really hoping for something on the Dooku end of the spectrum here, as in, you know, the bottom right-hand side of the screen. But alas, it was not to be. So here come Lando and R2-D2. Not really sure if that's what Starstone wanted to see. I mean, there's probably quite a few things that would be better here, though there's not, admittedly, a lot of ingress points on Starstone's side of the map, so I'm not really sure how he's sort of intending on making it up to this objective. You can, of course, do a jump with Luke Skywalker first and then do an advance and probably hit that ingress. It's not blocked by Ahsoka. And then we have, you know, we can dance a little bit there as well. So Luke can do some funky things with, with the, you can either profit by this or be destroyed. Let me just see. All right. Okay, so we've got we have decided to go with the Lando and R2-D2, or maybe we just measured. Sorry, I was just checking a message there. No, we've decided to put them in reserve, and I do think that is a better play. And we have drawn the Luke Skywalker, so I think that's good. I don't think we're going to be able to displace both of our characters here, but we'll have to see. So if we want to, we can, of course, have 2 cracks into Obi-Wan or 2 cracks into Ahsoka Tano. So what we've just seen there is a force refresh and a trigger of the jump from Return of the Jedi. And then we're going to trigger probably, you can either profit by this or be destroyed. But I'm very interested to see this activation here. So let's have a look. And Mind Trick is, of course, online from Obi-Wan as well. So that's a bit scary. A bit scary for Starstone. We'll see how we can get around that. So here's the advance after the jump from Return of the Jedi. So this is, of course, Luke's first action. And we've just come up on range 1 of that objective. And we'll have to see what we end up doing. This is going to be a really interesting play here. Because we do, of course, want to get the most value out of our out of our attacks here. So we can do a combat action that's probably going to be triggered to, probably going to be triggered to block. Sorry, we're going to do a combat action which is probably going to be blocked by Mind Trick. And then I'm assuming we'll also have a you can either profit by this or be destroyed. And we're currently, just worth noting, currently still in Form 5 Gem So, but we have just switched over into the old Form 3 Sorosu. So this is the form that I was talking about earlier. I'm just going to position so you guys get a better view of it. Here it is. So you can see, beautiful crit generation. It's very akin to Anakin Skywalker. Much better defensive form, better dice, and we've got 2 shoves in 2 successes, which is just beautiful. So a lot of flexibility on Sorosu Tree from Luke Skywalker. And Starstone just deciding what to do. I think he's just spent a force there for you can either profit by this or be destroyed. Now keep in mind, Starstone will have to use Luke Skywalker to dash towards the objective. So that is one thing. He won't be able to dash towards, OB2 or anything like that, because the wording specifically does say towards the objective. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. I think we're debating where to position Ahsoka, because before anything happens, the first thing that triggers is the enemy characters get to dash any direction. So they don't have to stay on the objective. They can go anywhere. So realistically, Ahsoka could sort of climb up on top of the quad jumper as well and make that point basically impossible to take, combined with Ahsoka and Obi-Wan. But I'm not sure if he wants to cede an objective too quickly. Looks like no movement's taking place. I can see dice, or I can hear dice getting loaded in. So yeah, nothing. So this is the attack. So no movement triggered. And we do have 3 hits and 2 crits going through for Ahsoka. So the 3 strikes are going to be blocked completely. And let's have a look at the defensive tree. So yeah, we did get the 2 expertise. So it's going to be 2 blocks extra, so 5 blocks total, 1 crit to a strike, and a jump. So essentially, Luke is only getting 1 crit out of this, which is brutal. It is going to be 2 damage and a jump, though, 2 damage and a shove, which is very nice. And we'll see what we end up doing. So it looks like we've shoved Ahsoka slightly towards the quad jumper. Desert Spiral will now, of course, get a jump, which we're probably about to see. Be interested to see what he does here. And remember, guys, we still have, of course, 1 attack in the tank for Luke Skywalker. So that ability is just absolutely marvelous. Just that you can either profit by this or be destroyed is just beautiful. I know that, we've got the chance of doing the old mind trick from Obi-Wan Kenobi, but just the ability for the double tap, sort of unhindered by any additional timing is absolutely fantastic. So there's the shove follow-up. And we are now just going to decide on the jump. So looks like Desert Spiral is, of course, just coming straight back onto the point. And this is where we'll do a big attack from Luke, his actual attack action, I'm assuming. And we'll have to have 2 force burned by Desert Spiral. Okay, so it looks like, guys, I have missed up the timing there a little bit. So 2 force were already spent from Desert Spiral to block one of the main combat actions, but we still used the you can either profit by this or be destroyed to, of course, do the attack onto Ahsoka anyway. So really hoping that we only got the 1 shove there, but it is what it is. So we pulled the Clan Kreese Mandalorians next. We put them into reserve and we got the Shatterpoint. So guys, let me know in the chat, what do we think we're going to use the Shatterpoint on? Now that Luke is not in the ordered deck, so he is immune to pin. So Jango's ability to sort of counteract him does go down a little bit. But yeah, you probably, Dooku's a good one. You can get the Magna Guard. You can cap this objective down here, which is quite spicy, and just give you a 4-point swing. And that's absolutely what Desert Spiral wants to do, I assume. So yeah, we've just had that. We're going to go with Dooku with the Shatterpoint. He's going to be able to dash and choose a Magna Guard to dash. And that is exactly what's happening. You want to go for these 4-point swings, right? That's exactly the name of the game. The game shouldn't be called Shatterpoint. It should be called Score 4. Maybe that's a good idea for a podcast. If you guys do want a podcast, you can check out us here at the Space Slugs. We do an episode once a month or so. And I would say that it's really good. but I am, of course, biased. I am one of the hosts. And we just did a really, really great interview with Duralvar. So if you're really interested in hearing from the CanCon winner, the first premiere event here in Australian history for Star Wars Shatterpoint, go and check out that episode. Luke, or Duralvar, is a fantastic player, a fantastic bloke, and hopefully one day a fantastic friend. But yeah, that's a really good episode, guys. You can check that out. So, yeah, nothing too complicated here from the Shatterpoint. A bit of self-deprecation from Duralvar in the chat there. So nothing too complicated from DesertSpiral here. We've had a Dooku Shatterpoint. We've moved a Magna Guard from his leader of the Separatist army. We've moved himself from that ability as well. We've then done an actual move with Dooku, which has triggered protection protocols on the Magna Guard. And then we've taken a Hunker. So yeah, nothing too crazy, and we've scored 4. So that is a big swing, and I'm not entirely sure that we'll be able to get 2 back in the loop from Starstone's perspective, but we'll have to see. Some really good draws from both players here, and we've gone back to the order deck with Starstone and pulled Django. So look, if there's any man that can do it, it's probably Django or Maul here. So we can displace, of course, a few characters. Not too many, though. I mean, we can do Django. He can essentially take the objective from the ground floor, which is a big deal. So he can sort of position himself in a really nice place and just take objectives off of this Magna Guard. Interesting sort of placement, I guess, from that Magna Guard. I'd be interested to hear what you, the audience, think about that, whether or not DesertSpiral should have stuck to the ground and made it a little bit harder to displace, or if you like the placement there up on top and just sort of within range 2 of Dooku, to of course give him some extra dice, or at least provide intercede, because remember, the game is not vertical. It is sort of a 2D game, so even on the floor, the Magna Guard would have given Dooku some extra dice there. So we've just got some measurement. You have to be very careful with your Django measurement here, just because there are a lot of triggers that can happen. So he's got a range 4 gun, but most importantly, he's probably got his capture wire, which is only range 3, and of course he wants to set up for future not so fast plays as well, which can be devastating. So let's zoom in on the old Django and see what we've got here. Looks like we might be going for a shot on Obi-2 just to put a little bit of pressure on him, and I do think that's a good idea. I'm not entirely sure if that's going to be in range, but let's have a look at the top down. I mean, it's damn close. It's darn close. What does the chat think? I don't know. Lord Tira saying, I got beat by that guy. I'm assuming you got beat by that guy at the old CanCon. I too got defeated by Duralvar at CanCon. Great game. Great game. Okay, so this is what we've done. We've triggered a focus into a jump with Django. I'm assuming that that's what's happened because we haven't refreshed a force. So that is where we are, unless the force is, of course, to come. But that is one action. We might be triggering the jump here, though. Okay, cool. So we did do a focus into a jump. Now we're triggering one more force for a jump. So we're going to position ourselves in some really, really good places. So it looks like we can get range 3 of a lot of characters here, which is a big deal. And I'll show you guys why if you've not experienced that. I'll get the slug icon out of the way. So not so fast. At the end of at the start of an enemy unit's activation, if one or more characters in that unit are within 3 of a character in this unit may use this ability. So roll 5 attack dice. The activating unit suffers damage for each crit and strike result in the roll. So essentially, if you get your opponent low enough on health, you can just take them out just before they activate. And it's an absolute brutality. Absolute brutality. Oh, cool. So Duralvar and Lord Tirith are going to be playing in their round 1 league game on Friday. So I wish I could stream that. I'll unfortunately be up in QLD for an engagement party. But yeah, it is what it is. I'd love to have streamed that. Okay, so we've got Duralvar saying that, you know, the not so fast trigger is much less effective into this list. Double revenge effects that make, you know, the not so fast ability a lot less effective, and that is absolutely true. So I believe on the podcast, if you listen to our most recent episode, Duralvar actually got not so fasted on his Savage, and because of all the revenge triggers that Duralvar used with the old Mother Talzin and of course Count Dooku, he ended up scoring more points than he would normally. So really, really cool ability there. Okay, so what we've had here, and this is really nice. So we've had a capture wire. We've actually been able to pull Obi-Wan Kenobi off the point So over to here, and it does look like DesertSpiral's Obi-Wan Kenobi will be out of contesting range of this objective. So that's really, really interesting. And that was, of course, used by Capture Wire. And I think if we have no attack made, we actually might be able to get down onto the floor here. But looks like that's not what we're going for. We're going to go up onto the quad jumper, and we're just going to decide to score 2, maybe set up Django for, some cheeky little not so fast effects, and of course set up for struggle number 3, because the middle objective is never active in struggle number 2. So Lord Tirith is asking in the chat, is it possible this struggle could be won without a damage being inflicted? It could be. Absolutely. So we've got 2 points scored there. Now, for the struggle to be won by DesertSpiral this round, not only will we have to get a wound, but we'll also have to get the objective off of Django. So, yeah, I don't know. We do have 2 damage on the old Ahsoka over here. So that is something. So let's have a look at who we've drawn. We've drawn the Shatterpoint. No, sorry, we haven't drawn yet. So we're just deciding whether or not we can take the, take the Clan Kryze Mandalorians. Now, I'm not familiar with this map entirely, so I'm not actually sure how close these characters are. I'm going to wager that Count Dooku is indeed in contesting range of the objective, and maybe even DesertSpiral's Obi-2. So maybe that's why Starstone had to jump on top of the quad jumper there. I'd probably, understand why. Okay, cool. And we've got the Magna Guard. We've decided not to go with the Clan Kryze Mandalorians, maybe save them as a really quick, nimble activation for, hopefully what is early struggle 2. Or countering some activations in struggle 3, assuming that the struggle is over incredibly quickly, which they oft are in struggle number 2, especially on shifting priorities. So yeah, let's have a look. So we've moved the Magna Guard. One of them's come up to here with Dooku using the ingress here at the rear, and we'll see. That's basically going to mean that we're not really able to get the double attack unless we get some cheeky pushes here. So basically what Starstone's going to do, I believe, is going to be trying to use this ingress point with the Magna Guard sort of here. And then we'll try and get into a position where we can push Django, a few times to get in combat range of this Magna Guard here. So he's going to be trying to daisy chain, the the old Django around with all the shoves on the Magna Guard combat tree. And this is essentially what we're doing. So the players are just going to have a discussion about the old wing on this quad jumper, I'm assuming. And yeah, we can make it. We can make it. So that's a cool little trick there. All right. So yeah, here we go. And Duravar said in the chat, it is a perfect pull to get Django off the point. Yeah, it is. Absolutely. So basically what we're going to do is have some combat actions into Django. Hopefully get some, some shoves on him, just so he can get on the floor there with the old Django onto this Magna Guard's level, and then we can attack with that Magna Guard as well, and potentially get some repositions or something to sort of, keep that Magna Guard in contention. Okay, it looks like we didn't do an attack. Not entirely sure what happened there. Sorry, guys. Oh, mind trick. Lol. Okay, of course. So we did the mind trick on the attack from the Magna Guard into Django, and that has been the end of it. So Django is not displaced, and now Maul has been the pull of choice. So Maul is probably going to do something cheeky like a saber throw, and I think that's really good. So he might be using something like There Is No Place to Run. I wouldn't be using that to bring something onto the floor, though, just because you've got a really good opportunity to, take the objective here. But we could do it on the old Count Dooku and then throw a saber into him just to maybe get him nice and low. And, of course, make that not so fast trigger a little bit more painful. So, Duravar, you've played a lot of Dooku and reactive abilities. Would you mind if Dooku gets wounded here, or is that not really a high priority for you? Let me know in the chat, or anyone else that's watching. I'd love to know. Even if you're watching this in post on the old YouTubes, you can let me know. Just type in the comment. And speaking of YouTube, guys, if you're enjoying what you're seeing, give us a like and a subscribe. It really helps the channel. And if you're really, really loving everything Space Slugs, consider joining our Patreon. You can head over by just looking at our link tree. It's Linktree at the Space Slugs or something similar. I'll put the link in the chat. And yeah, look, that's the most direct way that you can support the channel, and we'd highly appreciate that as well. So all the proceeds go straight back into the channel and help poor university students like me still contribute to their hobby and provide you guys with something as well. All right, so Duravar has said Dooku doesn't mind being wounded at all. He doesn't use much force and triggers both revenge effects. Yeah, so that's absolutely fair. So what do you see? I guess this is almost like a interview 2.0. What do you see being the most effective course of action for Starstone? Are we just playing that displacement game with Luke and force draining and something like that? Like, he really doesn't want to wound people here. Okay, let me know. So what we've got here is an attack from the old Maul into an exposed Count Dooku. So this is going to be, looks like 5 successes into 2 blocks. So 3 going through there on the old Dukes, which is pretty good. No, we went into the Magna Guard. Ignore me. Ignore me, ignore me. So still going to be, it's going to be 3 blocks. So it's going to be 2 successes total. And we're just resolving a push here. Yeah, I don't think you can get him off there, unfortunately. So that was a little bit much. We did try and get him off the top there, but I think that's okay. And yeah, so it's going to be 5 damage total. Sorry, only 4 damage because it was 2 successes. And of course, we didn't get an expertise. And then it's going to be a reposition for Maul as well. So we're slowly sort of crawling it back here with the old Starstone. Slowly crawling it back there. So yeah, it's going to be 3 points scored and of course a momentum. Putting, Starstone on 4 momentum. This is a close struggle. Closer than I thought it was going to be, 10 minutes ago. So really interesting uses of the odd mind trick. 1 force left on Starstone does give me pause, but if we activate the Shatterpoint, we can get force back from Luke, or if we activate the Shatterpoint, we can of course not spend any force with Maul. So some really, really good force efficient sort of uses here from Starstone. I really quite like this roster. So Duravar replying to my earlier question, which is just about the sort of ways to tackle DesertSpiral's strike team here with Starstone, and the response is yeah, pretty much. It's a tough matchup because there are 3 models on DesertSpiral's side, which is Dooku, Ahsoka, and of course Obi-2 that Luke's attacks are very weak into. So yeah, I do agree. I don't think Luke really wants to see those 3 characters, or at least Dooku and Ahsoka backed up by Obi-2. So it's going to be throwing the match on Maul and Jango's backs. Yeah, so Maul and Jango are going to be doing a lot of positioning, a lot of out of activation movement, etc. And just some diceless displacement as well. So we'll have to see. So we've gone with Dooku here. This is the next pull for DesertSpiral. He's going to be activating, of course, the leader of the Separatist army on the Magna Guard there, just to come down and have a crack at Maul, or at the very least, just outnumber Maul on the point. So DesertSpiral's really got 2 choices here. He can go down using the ingress point that's right here on the floor, or he can go up into the center. But the second struggle is rarely active in the middle, so it's probably in DesertSpiral's best interests to evacuate that sort of area, at least in the meantime, because there's a lot of movement that's on his side with Dooku at least, and of course putting himself or giving himself space from Jango and his capacity to not so fast. Even though we've noted, of course, that you get a lot of revenge triggers, it's still worth noting. So here's Dooku's attacks into Maul. So it looks like we've got 5 blocks. So it's going to be just 2 crits going through from the old Dooku expertise. So some pretty average results there. I mean, Dooku doesn't do that much on offense. He's more of a sort of a positioner and a reactive control piece. But we will get, I think it's 2 shoves. Is that right? No, just the 1 shove, yeah. So Dooku really struggles to get to that 3rd and 4th slot a lot of the time. And here we've seen it again, right? So we've just got 1 shove, which isn't going to be enough to, of course, displace Maul. Not that it's going to matter, of course, because, we've got 2 bodies on that point now with that Magna Guard, which is nice and cheeky. But we'll have to see how Starstone reacts. So what have we got left in the deck? I think we've got Lando and R2-D2, who at the moment just can't be shot. And I think we've got Shatterpoint left for Starstone. So that's pretty good. We haven't activated Django, and we haven't activated the Mandalorians on Desert Spiral's side, and he of course did go first. So who have we got? We've got Mandalorians, we've got Shatterpoint, and we've got Lando and R2-D2. Okay, yeah. So it's going to be up to Starstone here. You probably don't mind the Mandalorians much. You can sort of cement the point with Maul, and you can of course cement the center there. But you've only got the one force, which is tricky. So you're probably leaning towards a Shatterpoint here for a clutch Maul move. You might even be able to get the point off of Dooku here by wounding the Magna Guard, which is good, and you won't have that much agency for Ahsoka to sort of evacuate the point that she's on at the moment once you get wounded. So that might be a good pull, the Shatterpoint, and we have drawn, and we've gone the Mandalorians. That is an unfortunate draw, but it's still going to be able to get points. It's not probably the one that you wanted to see, but it is one that is fine. So both players have sort of evacuated a lot of their points at the back. Well, at least... Starstone will if he decides to move with the Mandalorians here. So the Mandalorians are really well positioned to take out that Magna Guard for a number of reasons. They do a lot of damage in combat, especially with their Mandalorians are stronger together. And they're... Oh, interesting. There's these big walls. Okay, I didn't know about that. So pushing makes... pushing is very difficult in this map, I suppose, off these objectives. But it doesn't matter. Because of the jumps anyway. So looks like we're just going to do a move here. We're going to flit around, have a good time, do a jump, and after this move will also trigger Mandalorians are stronger together, and then have a crack into the Magna Guard, I'm sure. So that'll be a good play. I'll be interested to see if Starstone ends up, putting both characters in the middle there. And I would wonder if we get to wound the Magna Guard, do we jump back, assuming we get far enough down our tree just to prepare for struggle number 2, because it will come up. It will come up. I feel like this might be a relatively big struggle 1 here. I think we might be in for a long one. So we'll just work out the collisions there. Of course, we are on the floor. We're not on the top here. But so the map's making it a little bit difficult. And the intricacies of the Tabletop Simulator mod, whilst it is absolutely fantastic at uniting the international Shatterpoint community, it does have some drawbacks because, of course, it is a free mod. And sometimes things like these happen. Anyway, we'll have to figure this out. I'll leave this to the players. Let's look at the Mandalorians while they figure that out. Keep in mind that the Magna Guard only have 6 health left, so that's relatively trivial, I think, for the Super Commandos. So they can do 3 each in 2 successes, right? And that's pretty good. That's sort of your bare minimum, and you're probably going to get with 8 attacks. Usually, you get about 2 expertise, 1 crit, and 3 strikes. That's sort of the average roll. And the reason I say... 2 expertise. So 2 expertise would convert into that second crit that you'd need. So they're pretty good at taking out, or at least getting 2 or 3 consistent dice in there. So I think we'll be fine in terms of taking out the Magna Guard. You definitely don't want to have a crack into Dooku just because he's got so much critical mitigation. You've also triggered Intercede here. So both of these Mandalorians are in, of course, engagement with the Magna Guard. So we won't be having a crack into Dooku anyway, at least whilst that Magna Guard is online. So here are the dice. So we've got 8 dice, of course, because of Mandalorians are stronger together. And let's see. We actually get 3 crits, saucy, and 2 blocks from the Mandalorian. So we've actually got 4 going through there, which is pretty brutal. I mean, I don't think they can do 6 damage in 4. Let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 short. 1 short. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, I mean, look, there is a case to make with that lead Mandalorian there actually taking a jump and positioning himself back onto the point. Not on the right elevation, but at least back onto the point, just so he's got a little bit more contention or some competitive play for struggle number 2. But you're risking it then, right? At the moment, you're guaranteed to take it off you. If you jump back and you fluff your next roll, we're in trouble. So we'll have to see. So can we use the Dooku's ability here to turn off some dice results? So Dooku could actually start using his ability here, twice the pride, double the fall. That could be kind of cheeky. So we could turn off all those strikes if we did want to. We could turn off we could basically spend 1 force to get rid of 1 strike there, and then Dooku would actually get a dash and a 5 dice attack, which is a bit spicy. A bit spicy, really. Not sure what's going on. It looks like we are trying to trigger the jump, but it's not working. But I'll keep you guys up to date. I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. Let's just ignore. So yeah, that's a play. I'm not sure if Starstone will end up taking it, but that is a play with that jump. We might have just sort of positioned ourselves a little closer, and it does sound like that's what we've done. We haven't gone back with the jump, but we did take the jump. So I'll update the damage in a moment. We've got 4 crits this time. Absolutely savage. Okay, it looks like Dooku's ability is only when he's attacked. So after a melee attack targeting an allied character within 2 is resolved, this unit may use this ability. If the attack roll contained no strike results, 1 character in this unit may dash and then make a 5 dice melee attack targeting the attacking character. So he could have turned off the strikes that were targeting the Magna Guard, and then done a dash and had a crack back at the Mandalorian. That's how I read that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Oh, I'm so sorry. Surely you can do better is, of course, only when this unit is targeted with an attack. Sorry. Yes. I'm behind it. Okay. So we've had the 10 damage done to the Magna Guard, which is pretty good. We've got a disarm and an expose done there. And, of course, a momentum. And wounding the Magna Guard is never a bad thing. I really like wounding Magna Guard because, whilst they can still move around and start attacking people, if they're wounded, they're not going to be able to take points after they use their really, really good combat tree to push people around. So, yeah. We will, of course, get a revenge trigger here, though, from Ahsoka. So she can do a dash and heal 3 times. So she'll probably just not move, but she will be able to heal the damage that's on her currently. So she'll just sort of, basically probably just move, maybe just to even put herself in base-to-base contact with Luke Skywalker. She doesn't want to leave the objective. And she'll just heal twice, and that's exactly what she's done. She's not moved, or she technically moved and then healed the damage. No forces, given back because it wasn't a primary or secondary character. And we do, of course, take that objective. So that will be... What do we got here? Okay, so we did get a block. So we blocked all the strikes. So Dooku does get a crackback, and that's actually going to be 4 damage 4 successes into the Mandalorian. So that's really savage, and that's sort of what we're talking about. The strikes must have been blocked by the Magna Guard, which essentially allow Dooku to trigger what we were talking about before, which is of course the twice the pride, double the fall, and that's brutal. It's a very uncommon role for Dooku, and you can see that only happened because Starstone rolled 5 fails there, so that's brutal, and that's put 7 damage and an expose on the Super Mandalorian. So absolutely brutal clapback there from DesertSpiral and Dooku. So we've basically scored another 3 points there, and we've scored another momentum. So it's fairly sort of even now. I mean, what was starting off disastrous for Starstone has turned into a fairly equitable fight here. So equity of opportunity here. And looks like we're pulling the Clan Kreese Mandalorians. I mean, that's a pretty easy wound to take. So Duravar said he's never got 4 spots down Dooku's tree with 8 dice. Lo and behold. So for anyone that's just joined, guys, we're watching the round 1 game of the 3rd episode of the TTS League, which is now sort of officially run by the old Space Slugs, yours truly over here. So that's really exciting. It kicked off on Sunday. So this is from the Oceanic bracket. This is Starstone up against DesertSpiral, and this is struggle number 1, and this is the score, and it is, of course, DesertSpiral's turn right now. So hope you guys enjoy. Underhanded Gene, hey stream, keen to get a game in soon, but been watching some of these stream VODs to learn it all. Well, thanks so much, Underhanded Gene. I really hope you're enjoying the content. This is sort of, you might have, if you only joined recently, you might have only been seeing our sort of edited videos that I've been doing in between seasons. This is sort of what we do weekly. We just try and put a game up, upload it onto the YouTube, and I'll try and provide some good commentary. I'm going to try and get Lord Tirith in the commentary booth maybe next week. Unfortunately, we couldn't tee it up today, but yeah, I'll definitely try and get Lord Tirith in the booth, and we can have a commentary. And sometimes two people is better than one, and that's going to be really exciting. So I've got my eye on you, Lord Tirith. I want you in the commentary booth. Okay, so back on the game. So we're just deciding whether or not to go with Jango Fett for Desert Spiral or for the Mandalorians, the Clan Kreese Mandalorians there. So we can definitely get an easy wound on to the Mandalorian Super Commandos here, which are now exposed and only on one health remaining. So that's definitely something to consider. The second thing to consider would maybe be to try and get a couple of shoves onto Jango Fett there. The reason that I say that is Jango Fett is a target that we can take an objective off of, right? But we cannot take an objective off of here by simply wounding Maul, right? That would probably be a job for Jango. And I think we have ended up keeping them in reserve and going with Jango. Let me have a look. Yes. Yeah. And I do think that that's better. So what we can do is we can do a jump or a focus into a jump, which will use that ingress point. Then we're probably going to use our capture wire ability onto Jango to get him off the point, which will give the point back to... No, it won't, because the Magna Guard are wounded. There you go. Ignore me. Please ignore. Okay, so yeah, looks Desert Spiral is in a position where he can probably take one objective back this turn for a score of 3. And he'd need... 1, 2, 3. He'd need 5 points to win it right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so he's unable to do it, but we can get close. So we can either take this center point and get into a position where we can not so fast the Mandalorian Super Commandos, or we can just go for the momentum and try and cement that lead now and put a little bit of hurt on and give Count Dooku maybe a little bit of an easier time of dealing with that point down the bottom. So I'll be really interested to see what we do. We do decide to go for the wound, and I probably would as well. You don't want to wait on the hinges of or bank on the fact that you're going to get that not so fast trigger. And the only reason I say that is because you've got triggers like run and all that kind of stuff from Obi-Wan Kenobi, and of course, and here it is. So we've got 3 crits from Jango coming in, and that will definitely wound these Mandalorian Super Commandos. So there you go. So Blood Ocean Legion, you just followed us. Thank you so much. Really hope you're enjoying the channel. And yeah, let us know what you think. Comment in the stream chat. If of course you are watching this in retrospect on YouTube, give us a like, give us a subscribe. We really hope you enjoy the channel. Let me just see if I can bring up our links. No? Okay, not working. Ignore. We've got Cameron's done a really good job of trying to set up our links. I can just type in some hotkeys into the chat there and they come up. I can't figure it out. Anyway, so what's just happened is we've just basically pulled Jango off the point and given him a pin, which is really strong. It's also given us a bit more space, between Jango and some of our units for the purposes of not so fast. And then we've had a shot into the Mandalorian Super Commandos and done a wound there. So we've essentially scored 3. We've cemented our position in the center there, and we've gotten a momentum, and we're 1 away if we're Desert Spiral. So Starstone just having a think. This is really the position where I start to think that Lando and R2-D2 are a little bit awkward, an inclusion. So let me know what you guys think of Lando and R2-D2. I think early enough, if you get that Shatterpoint and you decide, I want to get these guys up the battlefield, that can be really clutch and really strong. But, they're a little bit of a lame activation later in the game. That's just sort of my opinion. It's not fact. It's just my early experience. I think they can be very good, but right now it seems, Starstone seems a little bit hesitant to pull them. So we've decided to go with the Shatterpoint, and we've got a couple of options here. We've got no force on either side. So this is where Luke Skywalker can really sing with some of his stuff, assuming that Ahsoka doesn't get lucky enough with those jumps and stuff like that. We could have a crack. Thanks, Blood Ocean Legion. I really appreciate that. He's just said that the content is great and the commentary is top notch. Thank you very much. We're trying to do this every week, so the more feedback, the better. And one day, I promise, we'll get into live games as well. I just have no camera equipment, but yeah, we'll get there one day. So we have decided to go with Luke. So this is what we're seeing now. We're seeing the Return of the Jedi. So we've just refreshed the Force on Starstone's side, and we of course have had a jump. That all comes from one ability, which is real spicy. So Return of the Jedi, jump, and then refresh the Force. So now he's turned on his own kit for the old special source of you can either profit by this or be destroyed, but this is just the 8 dice attack into Django. So, oh, that's spicy. So we've got 2 blocks and we've got 8 successes coming in from Luke. That is really good. So it looks like we've actually had a focus there for 8 dice. So 8 successes is going to be the whole tree. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're just one short of a wound on the old Django, which is actually really good for Starstone because now we can not so fast Django. The not so fast sort of, the not so fast mini game, as you could call it. So that's really interesting. We can get a lot of shoves onto Django. If we want, we can get 3 shoves, and that'll just sort of get him right out of contention. But you probably don't want him too close to the objective with Maul and Dooku. One of Maul's nightmares is, of course, Django, just because Maul uses health as a resource, and the closer that you put him to the old Django, the more perilous his sort of journey becomes in terms of having meaningful activations. So, lo and behold, we're still pushing him towards Maul. So, of course, Starstone has a plan, and we'll see what we do here. So, this is going to be interesting, and this is one of the reasons I quite like... Okay, we've not decided to go for it. Looks like we're going to keep the Force there for a mingle trigger on Lando and R2-D2, and I think that's probably worth it as well. Or, of course, trigger the other really powerful ability, which is called I Will Not Fight You. So if he gets targeted by a melee attack, he can essentially use the ability. After the attack is resolved, if there were no failure results in a melee attack, one character in Luke's unit can double heal and jump. So he's essentially, really not going to be able to get displaced off that center objective, and the only thing that will happen is probably, the old Clan Kreese Mandalorians coming in and just bodying him off the objective, i.e., 2-1. Or maybe getting some pushes, but they are at risk of the old deflect from Luke Skywalker. He is a light side primary, and they often, if they have a lightsaber, they come with deflect, and Luke is no exception to that rule, which makes Luke really unique in the fact that he's got a defensive ability against ranged attacks, and he's got a defensive ability against melee attacks as well. So he just sort of does everything. He's sort of, excellent at everything and master of none, and I really appreciate that about Luke. So here we go. We've got some attacks going into Luke. This is the first Mandalorian, Clan Kreese. So it's going to be 8 dice into 6. And let's see how spicy Luke rolls. Pretty spicy. There's some fails. So deflect is definitely going to go off. And 3, 6... So 2 strikes, 3 crits. I think that gives him an extra crit and a strike. It does. So 4 successes total. And 3 expertise on Luke is 3 successes total. So only 1 will go through there. So yeah, Luke really quite the powerhouse. So it looks like he gets a pin and 1 damage. He is immune to pin though, so that has to get right out of there. That pin has to get right out of there. Yep, so he's taken it off. So we still put the pin on, but it was immediately taken off. So I probably would have just gone for the shove there, but maybe we want to get that double attack. I'm not entirely sure where the other Mandalorian is. They're both down there, okay. Let's have a look. Let's see the second attack. Same result for Luke, but a much better result for DesertSpiral. So we've got 3 blocks again for Luke, and we've got 5 successes for the Mandalorians. So it's going to be 2 successes this time, which is good. And of course, remember, guys, that deflect can't be used multiple times in a turn. So we've done what have we done? 4 damage to Luke and 2 damage to the Mandalorians. So yeah, pretty brutal. Pretty brutal. But this is all we need. So I think, no, we need a wound as well. We would have needed a wound. But we can trigger a jump here on the Mandalorians to probably take the center objective. And that's probably the way that we do it. So I'll be really interested to see how we use R2-D2 and Lando. I think that Duralvar said something about it. Duralvar has said that R2-D2 and Lando are the only characters that you can fit with Luke, so not much choice unless you want to lean into the Empire. Yep, 100%. I think you could definitely put the Stormtroopers with Luke instead because they're of the same era, and that 7 squad points definitely fits. Little counter to the old theme, I know, but Luke has no Rebel synergy at this stage, so it's definitely an option there. So we're going to trigger Mingle. This is the Mingle trigger. I'll just show you guys Mingle. So that is, each character in the unit may dash. However, if there are no characters within 3, enemy characters within 3, each character in the unit may advance instead. So doing a little Pink Panther across the back of the board there, or an Ace Ventura pet detective. Let me know if you guys understand the reference when he's trying to find evidence of a dolphin kidnapping in the first movie. Anyway. All right, so we've done the mingle to get onto the objective, and this is good. This is good. Essentially, we're going to take it off Ahsoka no matter what. But they have to be careful probably not to attack Ahsoka here, just because she can jump and then, of course, take this objective in the center. So she'll just trade the amount of points scored there. So we'll have to see. You got to be really careful there because that jump on 2 expertise, and she rolls a lot of dice. Statistically, she's going to get 2 expertise on 6 dice. So you expect 2 of each. Oh, we're going for the attack though. Okay, let's see what happens. So this is going to be 6 attack dice, 6 of the finest. Let's see what happens. Yeah, there you go, 2, 2, and 2. So we're going to block 4 for Ahsoka, and we're going to turn that crit to a strike, which means nothing happens, and she also gets to jump. So I'll be interested to see if she just tries to steal an objective here. I wouldn't go for the back left just because, it's only 33% active in struggle number 2, and it's never active in struggle number 3, and that's exactly what's happened here. So we're going to hopefully probably try for something like, did they get a reposition or a climb or anything? If they get deep enough on their tree. They do. They can do a dash on 4, but it's very unlikely you're going to get a dash on 4 into Ahsoka. But we are going to do that shot into the Clan Kreese Mandalorians there instead. So that's what we're settling on. So it's going to be 5 dice into a Mandalorian. 5v5. Okay. And we're going to get 1 success through, which is 2 damage. So that puts those Mandalorians on 3 health remaining. So not too bad, but not fantastic. We're going to end up scoring, I think it's 4 though, isn't it? Yeah, we've got, oh no, we trade the middle, so 3 and another momentum for Starstone. He's edging closer to winning this first struggle. I think, yeah, it's a really interesting game here. And we've shuffled, of course, for both players, and let's have a look at what we've got. Dooku. That's a good first hit, I'd say. A good first hit. I mean, you don't have to do it. You can save him for later in the struggle, but drawing something like a Magna Guard would be pretty bad right now. And you're in a pretty good position to probably, displace Maul off the point. Yeah, so Lord Tirith has just said that Spiral is struggling for damage output, and I think they both are. Oh, actually, that's not true. To an extent, they both are. I think we've had, if we compare the pair, I mean, we've both got a wound on each side. Yeah, a few more damage to primaries done on Starstone's end, but we've had, I think, 2 Mind Trick triggers on Starstone's end and only 1 Mind Trick trigger on Desert Spiral's end, if I recall correctly. I don't quite remember, but yeah, Mind Trick playing a big role here. And look at all these characters around that center point. Keep in mind, audience, that the center point is never active. I know that this is where a lot of the sort of, the action's been happening, but all of the back points for both players have been completely abandoned here. So that's going to be a real interesting struggle number 2. It's probably going to be in the hands of the player who can get the most value out of their out of activation movements. You can see Desert Spiral sort of starting to measure these abilities for characters that can try and steal back point objectives. I'm not sure who we triggered the dash on from leader of the Separatist army, but we did, of course, trigger the dash on Dooku himself, and he's going to have a crack into Maul. So, Dooku only really needs one success here with his expertise, and there it is. So he's gotten the 2 successes. Oh dear, he's actually gotten 3 successes. Starstone's rolled 5 pure fails. But it's sort of balanced out in the end. Desert Spiral only got the 3 successes, which is about where you expect Dooku to land at the 2 or 3 margin. But it will mean at least 1 shove, which is really all that Desert Spiral needed here. Keep in mind that Maul has 4 health at the moment, so he can go up to 9. 1. Oh, 3 successes is actually... So 3 expertise is 3 successes. So we actually got the wound there on Maul. Savage. Okay. So we got 5 successes there, which is very, very unlikely. Maul usually blocks, 4 on 6 defense, because he gets the 2 blocks on average, the 2 expertise on average for 4. But yeah, unlucky roll. But we do get a revenge shot. We will get a revenge shot from Maul, assuming that we don't get a pin on him. Let me have a look at Dooku's tree. No pins. So yeah, we're definitely going to get the revenge shot here from Maul. Oh no, we're taking the reposition. Cheeky. And we're probably going to try and block out the ingress point. We'll have to see if we can actually land. I think there will probably be room to put Maul up on top here. We will still resolve the pushes because we have to. So Maul will still get a dash here and a potential clapback attack into Dooku, which is going to be... Yeah, so we've got 5 successes. So we probably did reposition, shove, shove. Reposition, shove, shove. So that is essentially what we're looking at. Here's the dash back with Maul that you can see coming back. And yeah, that's a... I mean, it's not a fantastic result, but it is still a result. So we'll have to see what happens. I'm not entirely sure if we'll fit up here. Oh, easy actually, because I guess we treat these little wire pads as in the... As an actual elevation, if the models can stand there. I don't know how this is going to work. The players will just have to estimate it, I guess, because they are intended to be stood on, because this Mandalorian can, of course, stand on one. So anyway, while they work that out, let's have a look. So the beauty of Maul is the clapback attack, of course. So I'll just show you that. Sustained by Rage. For every 3 damage this unit has, characters in this unit add 1 to their attack die rolls. So essentially, Maul has 11 damage on him, which would mean 3 extra attack dice. And then once he gets wounded, he gets to use his innate ability called Revenge. I must have revenge. So essentially, if he's wounded by a melee attack, if the attacker is resolved, 1 character in the unit immediately gets to dash and make a 5 dice attack. Looks like we got up there in the end. Maybe not. Okay, Maul's up there. I think we're just they're using maybe the Mandalorian as a placeholder or something similar. And we're going to sort of move them up there, and that's what's happening. So it's going to be an 8 dice attack after all things said and done, and we'll see how we go. That's a pretty good roll from both players, actually. So 3 expertise on Dooku. Let's have a quick look. Is going to be 2 crits to fails. That is savage. So we've got 4 blocks on Dooku's end because of the expertise. So that's going to block all of the strikes, and 2 of those crits are going to go to fails because of Dooku's expertise. That is absolutely savage. So 1 success going through for Maul. Absolutely brutal. Absolutely brutal. So I'm not entirely sure what's happened here with the positioning. The players have come to an agreement, I'm sure, so I'm not going to meddle or worry about that, but for some reason one of the Mandalorians is on the floor. But it's just sort of the mod playing up. And I think both of these players are real good sports, and they know each other as well, thanks to CanCon, which is cool. All of the Australian community got to get to know each other. And yeah, so they'll probably just come to some sort of agreement as to the position of that, thanks to the bugginess of the TTS mod, and that's where we are. So Dooku's done a wound on Maul, which was unexpected, but it is what it is. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 3 points, and yeah, looks like DesertSpiral is going to be 1 away again. But we have pulled Luke Skywalker, so that's going to be tasty. What can we do? So we've got this objective here. That's not a issue. We've got Mind Trick back online though, which is an issue. And Luke Skywalker probably, as Duralvar said earlier, doesn't want to be going into Dooku for the reasons that we just saw. A lot of those expertise convert into crits to failures. So Luke actually might want to save himself for a clutch play in struggle number 2. I'm actually thinking that might be wise. And in addition, when you put Luke in reserve, due to the wording of his I am a Jedi like my father before me, he actually gets both immunity to expose and to pin, which is really good. So while a unit's order card is in the order deck or in reserve, it has immunity to expose. And while this unit card is not in the order deck, i.e. just not there, that doesn't mean that it can't be in reserve. It also gets immunity to pin. So yeah, real strong ability there. So we're just going to decide. I probably, you don't want to seed this struggle just because you have to fight for it, right? Like, you've just lost Maul. You're in a position where if you score 3, you're going to be putting DesertSpiral 1, 2, 3, 4 away. It's not out of the realms of possibility that you can take the struggle, but grinding it out for a little bit longer, I don't know. It's an interesting proposition. Chat, let me know. Would you keep fighting or would you go for it? You don't want to draw Maul here, for example. You don't want to get Maul potentially, wounded twice in struggle number 1. So maybe you do just pull Luke. Nah, put him in reserve. Please don't be Maul. Oh, it's Maul. That's not good. That's probably, potentially disastrous. We'll have to see. Maul can do a big play here, though. So we'll see. We can pull the old Ahsoka off the point. We might be able to wound Dooku, but keep in mind that of course Mind Trick is online. Let me just see who we're attacking here. Looks like a not so fast trigger. Oh, 4 damage into Maul. So yeah, I mean, look, the pain train is starting to come into the station. So we can't take the middle objective and this objective thanks to the fact that none of these characters are alive. We can definitely get into a position where we can pull the old Ahsoka off the point. How many points would we need to Starstone to get? He'd need 5, and he can't score any more momentum. So he physically cannot win from this position. So definitely something to consider. We've gone Maul. It looks like we're going to take Ahsoka off the middle point with there is no place to run. I wonder if Maul considers not spending health for this and actually starts, spending force. That will be interesting, but no, we've decided to spend the old health. So we're up to 5 damage. This is a force speed. I think you have to be up to 6 damage there. Yep, there it is. Just because of course, the wound token will add extra cost. And we want to pull Ahsoka off here, I think. Yeah, so that's what I was just saying, Lord Tirith. So Maul could be killed in either the first or the second struggle. The fighting for this, he actually might get wounded in struggle number 1 twice, and Maul only has 2 durability. So that is brutal. That is really brutal. We've decided to go for an attack into Django, it seems, who's been mind tricked, which we've just seen, and now Maul will do an attack into Dooku, I think. Let's see what we end up doing. I think I just would have taken Luke there. I know it hurts, but the risk of drawing Maul was high. And that might pay dividends for DesertSpiral and be a heavy tax to pay for Starstone. So this is a 9 dice attack going into Dooku, it seems. Dooku has 7 dice in combat because he's the master duelist. And he's gotten that exact same result, which is brutal. So all the strikes are going to go away. And Maul, I believe, gets 2 extra crits from that. He does. So that's actually only going to be 1 crit again and a damage into Dooku. And that is savage. And Dooku, because all of the strikes went away, he is in the position to use twice the pride, double the fall, to maybe even put, Maul in the dirt now, which is absolutely savage. Absolutely savage. So we'll see. What's the time on the chess clocks? This is it. So we've got 15-minute lead for DesertSpiral. So not only is DesertSpiral sort of in that damage attrition lead, but he's also in the timing lead as well. It might end before then. We never know. We've seen struggle number 2 and 3 sort of power through before, for sure. But we'll have to see what happens. And I do wonder if DesertSpiral will end up spending the ability here to use twice the pride, double the fall. I probably would, just to see if I can get Maul now. If I can get, if I have the opportunity to do 5 damage into Maul and get the second wound on him in struggle number 1, I'm going to take that every time. Even if it means that I get wounded in return from the clapback attack, I don't think I mind. So let's see. We are spending it. There it is. And we're going to roll back into Maul. Yep. So we've got a dash. We're not going to go up the ingress point, surely. And here we go. So we're even going to try and push Maul off the point here, I think. Oh, this is dangerous. If we get a good roll here on that crit. Oh, no, we did. Yeah, that is brutal. Okay, so we've blocked 3. So 2 crits are going to go through. Okay, so this is where we start seeing a bit of a shortfall for Dooku. So he's only got 2 crits through there, which is essentially going to mean that he gets 3 damage, which is very low for a primary, 3 damage and a reposition or a shove, and we've chosen the reposition. That is an interesting reposition though, considering the center point is never active. Now we've got 3 characters from different units, 3 characters from 3 different units in play. And that is interesting. And here we go. Maul is just going to try and evacuate a little bit. Luckily, he didn't get wounded. Well, not lucky. It's probably about average that he doesn't get wounded, but it's worth a crack from DesertSpiral, of course. And we are, of course, going to evacuate a little bit just to put some space between Django and Maul, and hopefully the rest of, DesertSpiral's team. Take the objective there. Score 1, 2, 3, 4 points. That's pretty good. That's pretty good, but, Maul is in a world of trouble here. 3 points, 1, 2, I suppose, no, it should be 4, should it not? 1, 2, 3, are they going to fix that? Let me just check with the guys, just because that's the only time I'm told I can interfere is with scores. I, of course, don't want to do this normally, but I don't want anyone to lose out on scoring. I'm just checking. I've just added a little comment in the chat there. I've got a game chat going with the guys. 4 points for Oleg. Yeah, exactly. Let me have a look, because I'm pretty sure that's owned by that point right there is owned. Oh, Super Commando objective is Spirals. Okay. All right. So sorry. Colored red on my screen. All right. So they had it right. Ignore Tom. Ignore Tom. Okay. All right, so we've pulled Ahsoka. That's pretty good. I mean, she can just rocket back to the back left objective there and have a crack at Maul if we want to. Probably maybe not the best idea, just because the back left objective is never active, or is very rarely active. So I don't know if I'd take that play. There are some other things we could do. Who else is damaged? Not really anyone. I mean, Maul is a really good, if you can get him. I mean, why not, right? So we've got a 5 dice attack going into... Oh, this is a not so fast into Ahsoka, just to make her a little bit more receptive, or fragile for Maul's clapback attack. So 3 damage there, which is pretty good. And yeah, I don't know. Let me know, chat, if you would end up going for Maul here with Ahsoka. The 2 wounds on him in struggle 1 would be probably even worth the potential damage in Ahsoka here, and assuming that she can also halve the damage, that's really strong. And the reason that she can halve the damage, guys, is because of what's the matter? Too fast for you. So she could actually halve all the damage from the Maul clapback if she wanted to not actually get punished that bad. We've got Lord Tirith saying, go for Maul, take the point. That would be struggle. I believe it would. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and the wound. Yep. Good shout there, Lord Tirith. And we'd also get, that all-important second wound on Maul, which is really almost taking him out of the game. I mean, you can burn bright with Maul. That's really fantastic, but usually you want to start losing him in, struggle 2 to cement your lead, or early struggle, or at some point in struggle number 3. So, brutal. So that's going to be a force speed, and she is going to flip over into Jarkai, or at least think about it. Currently, she is still in Form 5 Xian reverse grip, and I can hear dice being loaded, and we're gonna stick in it. Okay, we're gonna stick in it. So Ahsoka doesn't have a fantastic tree. So Maul's gonna block 4, and Ahsoka is gonna get 5. So we're not gonna really do anything to Maul here, other than one shove, but that shove will be enough just to push him out of engagement. And then she can use a climb action for her second action, because of course the first thing that happened was a force speed. So a decent thing, but unfortunately we won't score the point, and Maul is 1 health away, and I probably would have flipped over to the old Jarkai there, just to sort of cement the struggle, because now both players are sort of, closer, and DesertSpiral doesn't even flip the point. So yeah, guys, if you need to do damage, I would always, my advice, and I use this analogy with Darth Vader, Jedi Hunter, and of course with Anakin Skywalker a lot of the time. Don't be in reverse Xian grip. Don't be in Xian, and don't be in Xian with Darth Vader either. If you guys want to wound stuff, flip over to the offensive expertise side. I know it might feel uncomfortable because you might be weaker on the defensive side, but if you actually might lose the struggle here, because Starstone is 1, 2, 3, 4 away. So if he can take that center objective, then struggle's over, and you've just thrown it in the bin. So we're just going to take Luke Skywalker, Jedi Hunter there, it seems, out of reserve, and we're going to go straight into Dooku, potentially. What do you guys think of that? Oh no, of course can't score 4 because can't score 4 because this objective down here is already Desert Spirals, so we can't do that. But we can, so there's actually no physical way that we could win with Luke Skywalker there. Interesting activation. Maybe there's something that I'm not seeing. Let me know, guys, in the chat if you've seen the beauty of that Luke Skywalker play. I'd love to know. Somehow the objective clock was flipped. Not sure what's going on here, guys. Sorry. The clock has been paused. So someone won the struggle. I just don't know who it was. So the players are just deciding, and we'll see what happens. Let me just try and find out. So Luke could not have won the struggle just because he was... Okay, let me just try and have a look at what's happening here. Luke took the bottom point. That's only 3 because Dooku was on the center. So Dooku was blue, which is Desert Spiral's color. And then we had the back left here controlled by Starstone. This controlled by Starstone, which is 1, 2... Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. Yep. It's been a long day. No, absolutely. Okay, so look, that non-Jarkai flip, that was a big mistake. big mistake from Desert Spiral, I would say. Yeah, because you've just essentially handed the struggle over to Starstone there. And after a brutal struggle number 1, where Starstone was on the back foot all the time, now essentially the only combat, or the thing that, you know, Starstone really needs to deal with is, of course, going to be his clock. So let's have a look. Yeah, and sorry for the lack of adequate commentary there, guys. Because the objective here is flipped, or wasn't flipped, I couldn't quite see it. So I keep missing that one. Apologies. But yeah, this will be good. Promise. Okay, so we've flipped over into, I think this is probably the finest, you know, the nicest, most kind Struggle 2 layout. This is so much for the element of surprise. And of course, Desert Spiral has chosen this side, which is an interesting one. I probably wouldn't have chosen that one just because Desert Spiral only controls one of those objectives, as does Starstone. But I guess, yeah, either way, you skin the cat. That's the only one that Desert Spiral does have. Yeah, so look, abandoning all 3 back foot objectives is really, it's quite difficult. It's something that players rarely do. So that's going to be a rough first go for Desert Spiral here. And we have pulled the Shatterpoint. So, and no force on Desert Spiral's sort of side, which is even more brutal. So, yeah, big swing back for Starstone. I'm not entirely sure how to get out of this for Desert Spiral, at least initially. You want something that is very force sort of neutral. You could potentially have a look at Django here, but if you do go for Django's only got 1 health left, and he can just get not so fasted by Starstone's Django. So you can't even really use Django to refresh force, which is problematic. You've got no other sources of force regeneration on Desert Spiral's side. So, yeah, I mean, you're really just sort of banking on Starstone wounding your characters, be they primary or secondary. I guess if you do go with Django here, that's disarmed and on 1 health, if you get not so fasted by Starstone's Django, then not only do you get 2 force back from Dooku, but you get some out of activation movement shenanigans as well. That's not terrible, I guess. Where are the Magna Guard? They could have a crack into Luke, I suppose, which isn't terrible down here. They wouldn't be able to take anything off him, but you know, they could put some hurt in. Luke would be, of course, immune to pin, but that's about it. He's got brilliant expertise tree on Sorisu though, so he can get around some of those pesky Magna Guard attacks. Yeah, we'll just have to think. This is a tricky spot for Desert Spiral, a very tricky spot, and you can see that he's spent about 3 minutes just on this decision point for who to go with Shatterpoint. So let me know, guys, in the chat what you would decide to do there. And again, once again, apologies for a little bit of an unclear lead into the second struggle there, and thank you, Lord Tirith, for pointing that out. Okay, who would you guys go with? Maybe Dooku? Dooku's not in a position where he can get not... I mean, he is in a position where he can get not so fasted just because he's got 4 health. So a lucky roll from Starstone's Django would sort of end that activation and probably really put Desert Spiral on the back foot here. So we'll have to have a think. This is tricky. You don't want to go Magna Guard because they're not going to be able to get you anything. I mean, they might be able to at least take the point off of... I mean, you could go Magna Guard. It looks like Lord Tirith is saying he'd go with the Clan Kreese. The only problem is you've got no force. So that's the issue. You could get some attacks into... I mean, you could definitely climb and maybe even get 1 shove off of this, you know, onto the Lando and R2-D2 unit, which is good. Remember, they can't be shot at right now just because their order card is in the order deck, but they can be meleeed, and you know that's not a terrible thing to do. The Clan Kreese Mandalorian don't have terrible expertise in combat. They've got a Gauntlet Vibro Blade, so if they get enough melee strikes or expertise, they actually get 2 crits through, which is... Didn't even know that they could do that. I must say so myself. So they're a nice flexible option that that Lord Tirith has stated or pointed out. Lord Tirith, how would you utilize the Mandalorians here? What would you do? Would you just try and maybe send one over to help out Ahsoka? They're not going to be able to make it, I don't think, with no force. So just to put it in perspective, guys, this has been about a 5-minute Shatterpoint contemplation. So yeah, problematic. I think, you know, DesertSpiral sees the struggle here, sees the issues that he's having. So we've gone Lord Tirith. One shoots Maul, other goes to the opposite point. Yep, I see. Yes, of course. So what we could do is we could do a climb and do a move. So yep, we climb up. We have a swing into one of the, you know, the Lando people just to push one of them off the point. That way you tie it, and then the other Mandalorian comes over here underneath the bridge and has a range 4 shot into Maul and just tries to do that 1 extra damage that he needs, which will give the point to Ahsoka. Yep, that's a good play, and I wonder what's being done here. I can't see that happening. We'll have to see. So we're going into a 6 dice supporting, 6 dice defense, and we've got 3 successes through. So we'll just have to see who the damage is going into here. I'm not entirely sure. So it's a 7 dice attack. It could just be Ahsoka. Okay, so Ahsoka's just going into Maul here. So she's done, basically 7 dice, and she's got 3 successes through, which is just going to be, the jump route there. So she's going to get out of dodge of Maul's revenge attack, which is nice. He won't be able to do any other attacks. You did get that early wound on Maul, which is really good, which effectively locks him out until the next deck rotation. We've got a extra momentum, and yeah, we've ended up scoring 2, which isn't terrible. And Ahsoka will of course be relatively hard to displace for Starstone, initially at least. So this is the priority role. It looks like it is a block, which is going to be Lando and R2-D2's objective. So that's a good start for the old Starstone. That is a good start. So Mandalorian Super Commandos, that's a good shout. That is a good shout. I mean, they won't really be able to do much to Ahsoka, but if you get enough damage and you get a strain on her or something similar, if you get deep enough in a tree, of course, which is unlikely, you can get shoves. It's very unlikely that you get 8 onto Ahsoka though. But do you go for the objectives or do you go for the Ahsoka? You could both fit up on the Ahsoka point, realistically, but you might also just want to evacuate and start scoring points of your own. What would you guys do in the chat? Would you go for points, max points, or would you go for point coverage? When I say max points, I'm talking about getting points off of your opponent, and of course scoring points that way. The safest route, though, would of course just be to sort of take the point back there and maybe put some pressure on some other characters. Who else is not wounded? So we've got Django in a really precarious position. The way that would be solved is, of course, by a Dooku activation, but he is also in a precarious position. So you probably just leave him trapped by not so fast. You can put some damage into maybe... I mean, you can do anything, really. DesertSpiral has no force. So, scary times. And looks like, we are just going to put double bodies on this back point and go for the W that way. So that was a climb. This is a jump. And we'll see if we can put some combat attacks into anyone. It looks like they might be thinking about having a crack at Django, which is, not a bad shout. I mean, you can get the wound on him. You probably take the wound. You probably don't take the wound, to be honest, just because you don't want to give DesertSpiral any force back. So, but he's going for it. Okay, interesting. I don't know if I'd do that. Let me know, viewers, if you would. We've got a crit through. So all the strikes are going to be blocked, but we've got a crit through, which is going to be 2 damage, and that it will, of course, be the wound on Django if they want it. But that is going to give some revenge shots out as well. So, interesting. Would you guys have done that? So 2 force go back to DesertSpiral. Ahsoka gets to dash and heal 3 times. and we get to do a Mandalorian, sorry, a Separatist supporting unit, either dash or a 5 dice attack. So let me know what you guys think of that one. I think I would have just left Django alone, to be honest, and used the not so fast trigger to end his activation when it gets pulled, and that's brutal. So there's the dash from the Magna Guard. We decided not to have a crack into Luke Skywalker, and he's just jumped up the ladder. Yeah, Duravar saying I'd have left him for sure. I think, you know, giving Force back to Desert Spiral is much better for Desert Spiral than a wound is for you. So, yeah, I don't think I would have done that. But that's, yeah, that is what it is. So 5 attack dice back into Django. Looks like we've got, I think, 3 expertise on them. Is just 1 more. Okay, so just another 1 crit goes through, which of course he's not wounded, so it's just going to go away into nothing. We will score 3 and a momentum, of course, for Starstone, and the priority objective stays on the Lando and R2-D2 objective, and we've pulled the Magna Guard, so that's a decent pull. At least one of them will be able to have a crack into Lando and R2-D2 on that point there. Probably not both, though. We might be able to have a crack into... We could have a crack into Starstone's Django. Starstone's Django is full health, but does have a pin, and that would, you know, alleviate the pressure of Django on Dooku or something similar. Yeah. So this is what is happening. So it looks like we're not going to trigger Not So Fast into the Magna Guard from Starstone's Django. And we're just going to sort of mosey on over to this point over here and try and have a crack into Lando and R2-D2. So this one here can have a crack into Obi-Wan Kenobi. If you get deep enough in your tree, you can, of course, do a reposition. And that is one way to outnumber Lando and R2-D2 on this point, assuming that this Magna Guard that's just being measured for now does, of course, get 1 result to push one of the droids off. And it's possible. It's very possible. And look how central this... this battle has become. You've got so many different units having a crack here. So yeah, we're starting by having a crack into, of course, the Mandalorians. Sorry, the Magna Guard are having a crack into Lando, and we're just deciding whether or not we want to do a mind trick. I probably wouldn't, just because that completely gets rid of all of your force again. And yeah, they're not doing it. All right, so. Got 3 strikes and 1 crit because of the expertise. And sorry guys, I've also forgotten to put the struggle up for Starstone, so there you go. Alright, so yeah, let me have a look at Lando and R2-D2's expertise tree. So on defense, they've got 3 blocks, so all the strikes are going away and the 1 success will go through, but that's all you needed. You only needed the 1 shove. It's going to be 1 shove and 1 damage. R2-D2 says goodbye. Ooh, maybe he doesn't. The angle. Okay. So he just can't be pushed off, it seems. There's an invisible wall there. So there seems to be some sort of collision around the map, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, R2D is on the floor there, of course. And the other one is going to... So I would have positioned this Magna Guard, you know, a lot further over, because I actually don't think you're going to even be able to have a crack into that objective there for Desert Spiral. It doesn't even think that, like, he's not even going to be there. You could have moved a lot further forward toward that objective, I think. So this is the attack into Obi-Wan Kenobi. We are letting it go through, and it's going to be 2 crits. So that's just going to be 2 shoves and 3 damage into Obi-Wan Kenobi. The mind trick was not used. And that won't be enough for a reposition onto the point. And that's only going to be 1 point scored for Desert Spiral. So that's not very good. I think from the position where this Magna Guard was in, he could have gotten a lot further over. Maybe even pushed, R2-D2 further out and off the bridge. But it is what it is, so we'll see. Only 1 point scored. Both players will get a momentum, and the diamond is the Mandalorian's objective. So, yeah, firm hand of control for Starstone, but as we saw, struggle number 1 really flipped over, and struggle number 2 could equally flip over as well. And if Starstone actually gets beaten by his own timer here, that'll be unfortunate. So we'll see what we pull. We pulled Django, and Django's, I mean, he's the perfect character to do it. So he'll just sort of move over. He's not, or he is pinned, but he can definitely get around that. So what we can do is use something like a focus into a jump to clear the pin. Then we can actually spend one for the jump. Then we can spend another for the pull, and that's exactly what's happened. So we've done instead we've spent a focus for a jump, which has cleared the pin, and then we've advanced. Now what we're going to do is spend one more force, or spend a force for capture wire into Ahsoka. That's going to remove her from this objective and give her a pin, which is sort of Ahsoka's worst nightmare. And then we're going to have a force spent for a jump. So that's 4 points scored for Starstone, which is, yeah, a massive flip. A massive flip. Okay, so there we go. There's the other force being spent for the jump from Jetpack, a Mandalorian specialty, even though, you know, Django's not considered a Mandalorian at this point. If ever, I don't know. You guys let me know. And that's 4 points scored, and that's basically game, I think. I don't know if Desert Spiral can come back from this. That's going to be absolutely brutal. So we'll have to see. What do we draw? We draw Django of our own. He is fresh and ready to go. He can definitely get onto the priority objective point, for sure. You know, he can do some things. He could just climb. He can displace one of these pesky little R2-D2 Lando characters. Yeah, Lord Tira said, can't see Spiral getting out of this. Hats off to Oleg hanging in there in the first struggle. And it was funny because we were talking about whether to give it up or to keep fighting for it. Lord Tirith, you stated that you know, you can definitely see the merits of fighting, and that absolutely paid off. You know, had Desert Spiral flipped his Ahsoka into Jar Kai, you know, we could have been having a different conversation. But it is what it is. So here we go. So we've decided to reserve Django, and we're going for OB2 here. So OB2 is going to trigger run on the Magna Guard that is, of course, here. I don't know how he's getting that far over, just because, you know, this quad jumper here is, of course, bigger than range 2, so you can't just move over it. But we'll have to see. So that's one way that we've scored 2, which is good. Oh, sorry, no. We'll actually have to displace Lando here as well. Yeah. So we can't climb because we're engaged. I think the best thing that we can do is probably just move and then have a crack into Lando. And, you know, you can't get any jumps on Obi. Oh, no, Obi's got a jump on 2. You probably can do that. You could probably do that. So you just do a dash out of engagement with Obi-2. Then you have a crack into Lando. And hopefully you get far enough to get, you know, a second success jump. But Obi-Wan on Desert Spiral's side is pinned. So that's actually not an option. I wonder if Desert Spiral's seen that. This is another one of those cases where I'm allowed to jump in. Does Oleg have 2 force? He does not, Duravar. No. So the force was just spent to displace Ahsoka from the point back there. Down here with Django. So Oleg ended up, or Starstone in this case, I guess. That's what we've been calling him. Starstone does not have 2 force because he spent it all on Django. And I think Desert Spiral's just realized that he's got a pin on Obi-2, which is very problematic. So I think we have to have a crack into melee first, but yeah, there it is. So we've done, I can hear the dice being rolled into Obi-Wan. And we're probably going to get 1 success. It's going to be 5 blocks, but it is going to be, of course, I think 2 crits on Obi-2 here. Yep, 2 crits, so that is going to be exactly what you need. It's going to be the heal to get rid of the pin, and then the jump, which is, of course, going to be allowing you to get a little bit closer. And then your second action is, of course, going to be just to probably get in onto that point. Maybe a take cover or something similar, or just a move, just to get you closer. So that was long-winded way of going about it, but that's exactly what we needed, and I do think that that's paid off. So we've got 3 damage going into Obi-Wan on Starstone's side, which does put him 2 away from getting wounded, and that will be, of course, 2 points scored for DesertSpiral, and the priority objective is his, so that's nice. And we've just pulled Obi-2 of our own. So we've got an Obi-2 off. Neither player has enough force right now for Mind Trick, and I wonder if that's what Oleg or Starstone wants to see here. That's going to be really interesting. So what do? We've got 2 points scored. What we need is 4, so we definitely need to get that point off of DesertSpiral. So the easiest way is probably just to have 1 shove into the Mandalorians. We're just going to go around. This is with run. And when I say Mandalorians, I of course do mean the Magna Guard. That's run and a heal. So the heal just got removed from Obi-2 there. And we're just going to do a dash, probably because we are engaged, of course. And we just want to get 1 shove into the Magna Guard there to shove them off the point. And that will take the game. So that's what it's down to. And if I could, yeah. So here we go. So this is 1 shove for the game. How many successes do we need? I think it's 2. 2 successes in Form 3 Sorosu. We need 1 natural crit or 2 expertise going through. Big roll. We've all seen the whiffs. Let's have a look. 6 dice is not a lot. Is there a crit? There's no crit. Oh, there is a crit. There's 1 crit. All the strikes get blocked, but of course there is 1 crit, and that is the game. Okay, so that essentially is going to mean that we do get the shove on the Magna Guard. That's going to push him off the point. Interestingly, though, we actually might not get... No. Okay, yeah, because we went into... Yeah, needed 2, yeah, sorry. Yeah, of course. Needed 2 successes there. I'm not on my A game here, am I, guys? Thank you for keeping me honest. It's been too long since I've done live commentary. I've been editing too often, so forgive me. All right, so the priority looks like it's staying. Yeah, the priority looks like it's staying where it is. And got to decide whether or not we want to go with Django to get an extra point, or if we draw from the bag. So let's have a look. Yeah, Lord Tirith, maybe Spiral can fight back now. Absolutely. He's got, some foot in the game here. We can either go with, looks like the draw deck might indicate that we're going with the old Clan Kreese Mandalorians down here. Alternatively, we could pull Django. Django is wounded, though, and only has 1 force, so that's not an incredible proposition. So the Mandalorians might be the ones to go with here. And we could have a crack into Starstone's Django. Not a great ranged unit to have a crack into, though. And we're actually going to go with Django. Okay, cool. So we've got 1 force on Django. So we can do a focus into a jump here, which is looks like that's exactly what we're going to be doing. We've got no damage into those Mandalorians, but they don't like getting shot. So that is something that we can definitely do. Which might be, 10 damage is what Django can do on his tree. So if he gets close enough or enough successes into a 4 dice Mandalorian, and that's a bad start. We've only got 1 block, and yeah, looks like we're going to get the 1 shot. Wow. Okay, so that's exactly what DesertSpiral needed to stay in this game, and that's exactly what he's getting. So he's going to get 7 successes down to 6, which is the full tree. So we're going to get a free ability here, of course, from Django's combat tree. We're going to get a jump or jump city if we want, some pushes. So we probably want to pin the, that is huge, Lord Tirith. I completely agree. So we're going to put a strain on them. I'd wager that we'll also be pulling them with the capture wire ability, and then pinning them as well. So they're going to have a wealth of conditions, really, unless we want to stay in combat with the Mandalorians. So we'll see. I'm not entirely sure if we're going to use the capture wire. We'll see what we end up putting on. Wow. So that's 3 points and a momentum. And yeah, that's a big step backwards for Starstone. So Duravar's just said that he thinks he's hit full tree on Django 3 times ever, and he's played him in almost every game that he's ever played. Yeah, it's a very rare occurrence, just because he rolls so few dice, and he doesn't have explosive sort of successes. But yeah, that's a big one, absolutely. So luckily for Starstone, the priority objective is the back right one here. So that's one that he already owns, of course, and we've decided to go with the Shatterpoint. So can we go with the old Luke? Neither player has enough for a mind trick, so you don't have to worry about that right now. Luke would give you a force back. He'd allow you to have a crack into Django. We could go with Maul and say goodnight. Doesn't feel great. What could we do? Could we pull the Magna Guard off? We could, but we wouldn't steal it off of Obi-Wan just because, you need to outnumber him. And Obi-Wan's not quite close enough, which is a shame. So we're going Luke. Okay, cool. So we've just triggered Return of the Jedi there to get a force back, as you can see. Then we've done a jump on top of this gantry, and now we're going to go over to Django and try and have a whale on him. So we'll see what we decide to go with first. It looks like we're just doing a 7-dice attack. Yep, so we're not using you can either profit by this or be destroyed. We're just going straight for him. And wow, some big rolls on both sides of the table here. So 5 crits are going to go through for Luke Skywalker there. So let's have a look. What can Luke do with 5 crits? A lot. So he can do shoves, he can pin, he can disarm, he can heal. So I think you probably shove City Django just to get him off the point, of course. You need to stay close enough just so we can take the point off of him. And let's see what we end up doing. So there's some shoves. So first success, 2 damage and a shove. That's step number 1. And remember, you can sort of climb your tree and decide these on the fly. You don't have to go. You don't have to decide your route before you even start. So I'd probably go the shove route. You got 5 crits, so you could probably heal twice here, to be honest. So you could heal all the damage off of Luke, unless you want to condition Django, which is also not bad. Pinning and disarming him is nice. So you could do 2 shoves, no heals, a jump, a pin, a disarm. And that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage, which is spicy. Let's have a look at what we've decided. So that's at least 2 shoves that we've just pulled out, and looks like Luke is following up. And we'll have to see what the final result is on Django. So guys, if you've just tuned in, thank you. I hope you're enjoying the stream. This is struggle number 2. Starstone won the first struggle after a brutal struggle, a really great game. And this is, of course, Starstone's turn, and we're slowly edging in on the victory, but DesertSpiral has also clutched the clutched the game from the jaws of defeat here. So we ended up with 6 damage on Django and all heals on Luke. So looks like we did 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, so we did 3 shoves on Django and 2 heals on Luke. Okay, so we went first down 1, middle for the jump, up to the heals, and then 1 for the shove. Oh, hello. Hello, Rajan. It's good to see you here. I hope you're really enjoying Shatterpoint and playing so much of it. So there we go. Okay, so what have we gone with? We've just scored 3. We haven't gotten a wound because we didn't quite get Django. You actually can't get Django on that side anyway. So there we go. And we've decided to go with the last draw of the DesertSpiral deck, which is, of course, going to be... going to be the Clan Kreese Mandalorians. Region 1, I can't tell if you're being sarcastic or if you are actually playing Shatterpoint. I know you're a big Kill Team 40k player. I hope you come to the dark side and start playing some Kill Team-esque. No, Zev's not. Okay. Well, I'm glad you're here supporting me. Really appreciate it. So we're going with Clan Kree's Mandalorians here. Can't quite get in range, it seems, of Django here. But there's that little invisible barrier, which is being a bit strange on this map. Not a good one to start with. But we'll see. Looks like we will definitely be in range of Django then, just because of the way that the map is functioning. So we're going to have 2 cracks into Django. So Django's completely healthy in terms of Starstone, but we can get some really early shoves on these Mandalorians, which is strong. So I wouldn't worry about the where they are right now, to be honest. Yeah, just roll with it. Sometimes the TTS mod does TTS things. So here we go. So we're also spending, looks like 1 force for a jump. So that's going to be the last force on DesertSpiral's side. But, you know, this is his last activation of the deck, so you don't have to worry about that. And we'll come close to close in on this objective. So a really tight game. I mean, the first struggle was clutched out of the jaws of defeat of DesertSpiral. The jaws of defeat were defeated by Starstone. They were stomped away. They got rid of the teeth of the jaws of defeat by Starstone, and we might actually have a repeat of that in DesertSpiral here, just because there's been a few rolls that we haven't quite been able to get over the edge of. Yeah, we'll see how this goes. So at the very least, we might be able to get 1 or 2 shoves on Django, just because we have enough dice being rolled here, and we might even be able to get some early jumps in the tree to get up on the point after we've displaced Django. Oh, no jumps. Interesting. Did not know that, but at least if we can displace, Django from the top of the gantry there, we can take the point off him if we get shoves enough. I actually, just before we look at this roll, I actually would have started with the front Mandalorian there, just so we can sort of try and displace ourselves away from the point, maybe in sort of the toward DesertSpiral's board edge there first, and then we can start following up with the other one, just because at this stage I don't actually know if DesertSpiral is going to be able to get onto the point there. So we get not a great amount of successes. We will get 1 crit through, which is enough for 1 shove, which you can see being resolved here. I don't think it's going to be... Oh, yeah, okay. We're going to be able to get off the edge. And then I guess we can still use the follow-up action there to probably wrangle the angle. Yeah, okay. So we can still get what we need. Ignore me. But the cautious person in me wants to shoot with, with the one in the front just to... Ooh, that's not how you're meant to resolve that. But sure, it's all good. That is all good. So we will rest that objective off of Starstone as well, which will give us 4 points. I don't think we'll have line of sight with the next Mandalorian to shoot Django, just because of the size of this building here, and that will be 3 points scored for DesertSpiral. And you can see we've sort of flipped the roles of struggle number 1 here, which is really interesting. And the priority objective is going to be Starstones already, so that's a good start. And we've got Lando and R2-D2 to come back alive here, so a good way of coming back into contention, I guess. We might not lose our control of this objective just yet. Keep in mind here, guys, that there's a bit of a bug on the TTS at the moment. R2-D2 is on the floor, but is about to do a climb action to come up on top here. So my question to the viewers is, because we probably want to start doing a lot of damage, do we start using Lando and R2-D2's element of surprise? We could start, by spending a force. We could even do a focus to get up to, I think they'd get 9 dice. So if they did a focus and then they also added 2 dice from element of surprise, they'd both be rolling 9. And we could have a pretty good crack into, the units that are currently contesting this objective here, which might be good. I don't know if that's worth it. You could potentially also expose yourself, which is scary. So you could also they get one shot by most things anyways, what Dualvar says. Yep, that's fair. I guess what you could also do is not focus, and you could, just heal the expose off after the fact anyway. But yeah, maybe you just go sort of full Monty here and put all your eggs in one basket and just try and smack the Magna Guard. Getting a second wound on the Magna Guard would be really good. You are, of course, worried, I guess, a little bit about the Mind Trick, but it's probably not a huge deal, not terrible. Yeah, so we haven't spent any force yet, but we have had the climb action, of course, jump up onto the gantry there, and we're attacking, and no Mind Trick is being spent, but we are using the element of surprise. So we are rolling 8, and we're not, importantly, not doing the focus action here. So it's a great roll. It's a great roll. So it's going to be 6 successes in combat. So 4 successes total. And this, of course, will be into the Mandalorians. So 4 successes on Lando is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 5 damage, which is good. That's really good. We will get an expose, of course, just because we rolled 2 or more successes there. 2 or more failure results, and we're going into the Magna Guard again, and we'll see. Looks like no Mind Trick is being spent. Yep, Mind Trick is being spent, so we're going to lose those 2 dice. We're going to go down to 6 dice, and we'll have to see who we go into. We're not bothering attacking Obi, it seems. Nope, so we're just going to score 3 points there, and no momentum. We will, of course, take the force regeneration, and the priority objective is where we've got Lando and R2-D2. First draw is the Clan Kreese Mandalorians. That's not terrible. We could just cement our position there by putting one of them up on top of the gantry there, but looks like I just saw the force. Yep, force spent for a reserve, and we have pulled the Magna Guard. That's a brilliant return shot. They are disarmed, but it doesn't really matter. The first one can have a crack. They've got even 1 success. We'll get them a shove that they need to take the point back. A disarmed into an exposed does slightly favor the disarmed, just because of the way that the math works out. But we've actually gone for a recover action first, so we've cleared 1 damage and the disarm. So if anyone's unsure about the sort of interactions there, when a unit does a recover action, each character in the unit can heal 1 damage. So both of the characters there healed. One of them healed the disarm, one of them healed the damage, and now they can do a double tap into the poor little Lando and R2-D2 unit. We have had a Mind Trick being spent. So that's that. We're going to have a 4 dice swing into one of them. They are exposed, but you're no longer disarmed. And there is... Yeah, still getting 2 successes through. So, yep. Still getting 2 successes through, which is, of course, going to be 2 successes. So 3 damage total, putting the unit on 4 damage. So they only need 3 damage to be wounded. And, yeah, we're going to have another crack. And this, of course, cannot be Mind Tricked. So we might max ourselves out on the old momentum here, which is going to be pretty brutal. It almost feels bad maxing yourself out on momentum, just because you can't rely on momentum scores to push you over the edge there. But yeah, we're gonna have another crack into the Magna Guard. This one leaning into R2-D2, and probably going to be getting the wound here. It's 2 blocks into 4, so 2 successes. So not quite getting the wound, because we did need 4 damage, and looks like we're up on 6 now, so not quite, but we will take the point back, and we're going to max out on our momentum anyway, just because we'll score 3, and that'll put us into the middle, and yeah, that'll be a momentum for both players. So Starstone will end up needing to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points, so either 4 points and a wound, or... that's the only way that he can do it. So 4 points and a wound for Starstone to get the game. I don't know if we can do that. He's got 6 minutes on his clock, so this is going to be scary. The priority objective stays where it is, and Starstone's going to have to rocket through these. Shatterpoint is one way to do it. Luke is not going to be able to help you. Maybe this is where you pull the maul trigger, but you can't really do it, especially with Mind Trick Online and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you could potentially wound the Clan Kreese Mandalorians here. That's one way of doing it. That will give you a the point back, but no, it wouldn't, because you could actually go... No, it would, because Ahsoka is pinned. So that's one way to do it. You could go with Maul and pull the ripcord here. And that's probably what I'm looking into. So you go with Maul, you would have a crack into the Clan Kreese Mandalorians. They would get wounded. That would give the point down here to Jango. Ahsoka can't take it off you because her dash will be pinned, so she can't actually move anywhere. So that's that one sorted. That would give you the momentum, and then you just need to take this out of contention as well. And how would you do that? You'd have to displace this Mandalorian. It's just up to whether or not the Obi-Wan... I don't think that Obi-2 there for Starstone is in the objective range. So you probably can't do it that way either. What do you guys reckon of that play? Looks like we've just gone Jango, and we're going to have a crack into the Clan Kreese Mandalorians anyway. That's fair. That's fair. You only score 2. But you might get the wound here, which is nice. So what do we get? We get 3 crits into... So it's going to be 3 blocks from Desert Spiral, and it's going to be 4, 5, 6, 7. So 4 going through for Jango, which is definitely going to be enough to wound them and get some triggers. You probably don't need to worry about any of the triggers. Ahsoka is, of course, though, going to get a dash and heal 3 times. But that's neither here nor there. All right. Had a crack there. Time is still on the old Starstone here. I think this is going to be a clock out, guys. This is the only time. This is only the second time I've ever seen that on the channel. Unfortunate, because Struggle 3 is going to be so close. But yeah, here it is. So we're going to have to score 3 points here for Starstone. 2 points, sorry, because the priority objective is not controlled by him. And here we go. So failure is of course Starstone's here, and we'll have to see. We could go for the Mandalorians. They are pinned and strained now, so that's not that appealing. But we're going to go for it, yeah. So we just take the objective that way, because you eat the you heal the pin, you eat the strain damage, and then you just sort of you can just come up on this point. But if we do end up going with not so fast from Jango, we could put them in a position where the 3 damage would wound them. So I'd probably be spending force. I'd probably be spending force for not so fast here, just to force the Mandalorians to do a recover first, so you can't sort of shoot me and also take the objective off me. No, okay. Yep, there's the not so fast roll. So here's the 5. I think that's sound. Hopefully you get 4 here. No, you only get 2. Okay, that's fine. So the Clan Kreese can sort of do whatever they want. They don't even have to recover, but I'd probably still would. Yep. So they've recovered. Both of them have recovered, of course. So one of them clears the strain. One of them clears the health. Then they do a move. And now they're doing a jump just to get a better position there. And this is looking very unlikely for Starstone to win, just purely based on where the clock is. At the moment, Desert Spiral has double the time on his end, so we'll have to see what happens. But this is looking dicey for Starstone, unless he can rocket through these. It is the center objective. Interesting. So either straight down the middle, which would be favoring Desert Spiral, or up and down, which at this stage favors... I mean, it still technically favors Desert Spiral. So this is, this is where the whole conversation of these chess clocks comes in. Whilst it does sting a little bit to have the game ended on what you'd call a quote-unquote death clock, it is worth keeping in mind that it does at this stage look like Desert Spiral has a better position for this objective anyway. But, Starstone's a great player, so he might be able to pull something out in record time. We'll have to see. We're just cleaning up the board here. So both players have, of course, won a struggle. Let me update the tracker. There it is. And let's have a look at the priority. So the priority is the middle. Interesting. We've gone Luke Skywalker. A complicated activation to start with, that's for sure. So he's not really going to be able to get you many points. He goes straight into reserve, as you've just seen, and here come the Mandalorian Super Commandos. So not a bad shout. You're probably just going to do, a move, a jump, and take the objective off of Dooku, if not wound him. Wounding him would be pretty solid, because then you could probably even move off the objective there. And go down to either this one or, of course, this one down here. So they're doing a move. They're gone with the old Mandalorians. I don't think they're underneath, but maybe they are. We'll have to see. I doubt that one Mandalorian Super Commando can do 4 damage to Dooku in one hit, especially because, his abilities are turned on. So Lord Cherith is saying he can't take the middle point. He could if he... Oh, no, because they're double wounded, of course. So, yeah, you've just got to sort of try and go for that one shot. No, not going to happen. So, yeah, they've just scored 1, and this is definitely where Desert Spiral, I think, probably takes the lead. Because they are double wounded. So the Mandalorians actually just got removed there, which is a shame. Jango Fett is the next pull. Jango Fett is, of course, for Desert Spiral down here. So he doesn't even need to worry about doing anything. He just sort of walks onto the point. He might even have a crack at Luke. Luke is, of course, immune to pin and expose at this stage, though. So not a really appealing target, but you can still displace him, of course, which is not a bad shout. And if you get far enough up your tree, then you can do, of course, the old, or at least threaten the not so fast. Even though Luke would get to resolve his Return of the Jedi first, so he'd get to jump outside of the contention range for not so fast. Looks like we're having a crack into Luke. 7 dice into 6. Luke's got a great expertise tree on Sorosu. Did roll 3. Django's just been on fire today. Absolutely. So we've got 6 successes into Django and a deflect, and we've got, I think, 3 on Luke. So 3 successes going through, which is going to be usually 5 damage, and a strain, and a jump for Django as well, which is indeed what we end up doing. So 7 damage on Luke means he's 4 away, and we're just taking the point. That will score us 3 if we're Desert Spiral. No momentum. The objective is the rear one, which is not owned currently by anyone. We've got what do we got? We've got Obi-Wan Kenobi. So Obi-Wan Kenobi is in a pretty good spot. He can just sort of run himself and maybe, just go over there. Is Ahsoka still pinned? She is not. So she's not an appealing target. You probably just run, you then take cover and maybe even recover as well. So you get a hunker token and you get to remove a damage. Yep, that's exactly what's happened. So he's done a run, which is a reposition and a heal. Then he's taken cover and then he has scored 2. So both players gain a momentum. Starstone's got a minute and 37 left on the clock, so he's really rocketing through this one. This is a fail. It is OB2 of our own, so this is a great opportunity to threaten, 4 points getting scored. Unfortunately, we won't be able to... Oh, there you go. Perfect. So we're just going to use one of the Mandalorians to use run because they are engaged with Jango here. And then we can get Obi-Wan to just do a move and then do a take cover off the point there for a score of 4. So really great plays, I think, from Desert Spiral here. Unfortunately, this top place with all of these objectives are just causing us trouble, but we can just drop down and then take cover because that's exactly where we are. Doesn't matter if we're on the top or the bottom, and that will be a score of 4. So yeah, absolutely brutal. We're rolling the priority. This is a lightning fast round. Priority is where OB2 is. There is Mind Trick up, so there's pretty unlikely we're going to be able to do anything about that. Lando and R2-D2 especially not. They can trigger mingle, of course, and they can get over here. That would actually outnumber that would actually outnumber DesertSpiral, so that's not a terrible shout. But they can't mingle for a full advance just because they are, of course, engaged. But I guess we can try and have a crack into Count Dooku, or at least outnumber him. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So that was a climb and an advance, and then we can use mingle. So we've just spent our force for mingle to climb up this objective, or this this ingress point, and take it. And then we're doing a recover action as well, which is pretty good. 1 point scored, and this is probably where we end the game on natural terms for DesertSpiral. So we just needed to get 3 damage onto the old Lando and R2-D2 here, and Dooku is the man to do it. So he just needs sort of 1 expertise, assuming that Lando and R2-D2 don't have a crack on like a big expertise roll, and this is a focus and an attack. No expertise rolled. No defensive expertise rolled, and there's expertise rolled on DesertSpiral. So it's going to be 4 successes. That will be the game for DesertSpiral, and wow, what a game that was. So just really back and forth. That's exactly the kind of Shatterpoint that we that we love to see, and lovely that it ended in time as well. So that's absolutely fantastic. So great game for DesertSpiral, great game for Starstone as well. Unfortunately, we haven't seen Luke Skywalker win on the channel yet, but we will one day, I promise you. I think he's an absolutely fantastic primary. Let me know what you guys think of sort of the squads here. I mean, Lord Maul getting punished a little bit too hard in struggle number 1 was definitely unfortunate for Starstone here. But Jedi Knight Luke Skywalker put up a really good showing, I think, and really sort of had a great impact on the board whenever he activated. But yeah, look, the powerhouse of Dooku and Ahsoka. I mean, I'd sort of written off DesertSpiral in the end of Struggle 2 there, and I think in my mind, giving DesertSpiral force back, I'll have to watch the tape back and see how much impact that would have had on the game. But giving Spiral the force back and allowing him to sort of put a foothold back in the game might have been a risky position. But yeah, look, great game from both players. Fantastic game for DesertSpiral. Congratulations to him, of course, for taking it. And yeah, good luck for the rest of the league to both players. We will, of course, try and do a game a week of the league and then upload them retroactively onto the YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, chuck us a like and subscribe. If you're watching on Twitch, whack us a follow. Go check out our Patreon and consider joining that if you do enjoy all of our content. We also do a monthly or bi-monthly podcast. You can find all of our stuff at the Space Slugs. So let me just quickly update the winner here. I don't know what's happening. Give me a second. All right, let me just quickly update the winner here, and we can close this out. So DesertSpiral. So yeah, massive congratulations to DesertSpiral.